94-year-old veteran ex-Sergeant Samuel Kwabeng appealed to government to support them financially.
Government dia maya odien gwa nyewu omo aye won kai na ye ne die moja agura topre agye o man na su abedum pefenso aye omu.
At a training of stakeholders on tobacco control regulations and enforcement at WA in the Upper West region, the Food and Drugs Authority advocated for a more effective law enforcement on the use of tobacco in the country. Our correspondent Swala Abdul Wahab has more.
Ghana has ratified international conventions and also put in place LI that deal in the use and control of tobacco in the country. In spite of this, the country is still confronted with illegal importation of tobacco products.
We've recently done gap analysis on our law, and we found out a few enforcement challenges that we need to amend the law in line with best practices, and then also to get around the enforcement challenges that we are getting. And we realized that we need other stakeholders to come on board. And so you saw that we brought a lot of security agencies. We brought Ghana Health Service, we brought Mental Health Authority, we brought you, the media, we brought opinion leaders, traditional rulers, so that everybody's role would be assigned or categorized, and then we come up with an enforcement plan. So this is not just any ordinary workshop that they come and afterwards everybody goes to sleep. No, we have come up with an enforcement plan peculiar to WA with local solutions.
Some of the participants have told GBC News that they put into practice what they have learned from the workshop.
Indeed, as traditional leaders, we really have a role to partner with stakeholders in its control. However, it is our people who participate in the sale and importation of these things. If we are quite vigilant through our traditional mechanisms, we can help stop the illicit use and importation of these tobacco products.
It became clear during the discussions that the fight against illegal tobacco trading is not the work of one institution. The participants have therefore pledged to play their role effectively to ensure that illegal tobacco trading is brought under control.
At Bolgatanga in the Upper East region, the training also took place where a similar program was held. A representative of the World Health Organization, Dr. Joanna Ansom, said the WHO has been instrumental in organizing public education programs to raise awareness on the dangers of tobacco. The head of Tobacco and Substance Abuse Department, Dr. Olivia Ejekumwa Boateng, said 75 men die every week from smoking and using tobacco in the country. The Upper East Regional Director of Food and Drugs Authority, Mr. Sebastian Huto, said the authority is educating the public on the dangers associated with tobacco use.
We are supposed to be engaging all stakeholders. We need a multifaceted and a multi-sectorial engagement, collaboration, so that we'll be able to achieve a lasting and sustainable end to it.
Participants were drawn from the security services, the judicial service, the media, and the Narcotics Control Board. A healthcare provider and an audiologist may consider a cochlear implant if you are experiencing hearing loss and continue to rely heavily on lip reading. Candidates for this implant surgery include individuals who have trouble hearing and permanent hearing loss. For the first time in the history of West Africa and Ghana, the Kolebu Teaching Hospital will be offering this surgery on some children with hearing impairment. Foriwada Konhasmo.
Cochlear implants in infants and toddlers may help them listen and learn to speak. A cochlear implant is a small electronic device that electrically stimulates the cochlear nerve for hearing. The implant has external and internal parts. The external part sits behind the ear. It picks up sound with a microphone. It then processes the sound and transmits it to the internal part of the implant. How much cochlear implants help varies from person to person. Most individuals note a significant growth in their awareness of sounds within days after their cochlear implant is turned on, which is about 4 to 6 weeks after surgery. Ghana is the first in West Africa to perform the procedure of cochlear implants.
This very week, Kolebu is going to offer for the first time in the West Africa sub-region, cochlear implant surgery. Now, there are children who are born deaf. They cannot hear. And so the cochlea is an organ within the ear that allows you to be able to process sound and to hear properly. And so for the first time in the history of this country and the history of West Africa, we are going to get cochlear implant surgery being done on 3 children. Kolebu also has got the men. And when they are given the resource, we will deliver excellent health care so that we will meet the needs of our people.
Hearing impairment is relatively common among children. About 1 to 9% of children have trouble hearing, and permanent hearing loss is found in more than 1 out of every 1,000 children screened for hearing loss, whether or not they have symptoms. For GBC News, Ofeyiwa Dako reporting.
The Stop Tuberculosis Partnership is calling on government to commit more to attain the UN high-level meeting targets on tuberculosis. The target stipulates that government provides logistics to adequately diagnose and treat TB patients, especially children and those who are drug resistant, as well as prevent those at risk from contracting TB.
Tuberculosis is an infectious disease, yet preventable and curable. It has claimed over 15 million lives in the past decade. Yet, the National TB Control Program is burdened with inadequate diagnostic and treatment tools to reach out to vulnerable groups such as pregnant women, HIV patients and diabetics who are mostly at risk of contracting tuberculosis. Although the program is supported by the Global Fund, it is still in dire need of funds to enable it to execute its activities. At a forum with journalists in Accra to highlight the challenges, the program's manager of the National Tuberculosis Control Program, Dr. Yao Eduse-Poku, said the country's response to TB has been little and slow. He said a lot more people are contracting TB than COVID-19, hence the need to invest more into the national TB response.
COVID has overshadowed TB. Now it's all about COVID, but as I indicated to you, we tested 206 persons. 13% of them had TB, 9% had COVID. More TB than COVID.
The board chairman of Stop Tuberculosis Partnership, Mr. David Kwesi-Afre, said for every 100,000 population in Ghana, 192 people test positive for tuberculosis. To accelerate the development and access to essential tools to end TB, he asked government to commit to making the TB response a rights-based one to ensure equity while eliminating stigma.
At a forum on funding public transportation intervention on Thursday in Accra, stakeholders in the industry voiced out their beliefs that lack of monitoring and supervision has led to the failure of proper transportation systems in Ghana.
Center for Policy Scrutiny was purposed to consider affordability of funding public transportation. Participants say the country needs a way out. A research fellow at the Center for Social Policy Studies at the University of Ghana, Dr. Kojo suggests the way to go to cushion the industry and the system.
What government can do is that you need to encourage, incentivize people to use large buses or those that can take a good number of passengers. And to do that, you can take away the import tax on those kind of buses, the buses that can take a high number of passengers.
He declined calls to scrap taxes on petroleum products, saying that they would have adverse effects on government. He, however, supported calls to scrap all road tolls proposed by the Concerned Drivers Association of Ghana a few days ago in the country, but to introduce it in other areas that would not affect the poor so much. On public transport, the General Secretary of the Ghana Road Transport Coordinating Council, Mr. Ohini Yabwa, believes the introduction of the Ayalulu buses into the public transport system was good, but lack of monitoring, supervision and maintenance has led to a near collapse of the system. He called for infrastructural redesign in the system. Moreover, the General Secretary of the Ghana Private Road Transport Union, Mr. Godfred Abubri, thinks removing some taxes would be difficult, but called on government to do something about it. He said the GPRTU will be happy to manage public buses imported by the government to facilitate affordability and decongestion on the roads.
When they bring in the buses, involve private people for them to manage as if it is their own. And I cited STC. STC from where it was and now today is different.
He also said passengers' turn-up has dropped, not because of fuel hikes, but COVID-19. On taxes, stakeholders are still calling on government to remove what they term as nuisance taxes, such as the Price Stabilization and Recovery Levy, Special Petroleum Tax, Energy Debt Recovery Levy, Bust Margin and Bust Fuel Marking levies. They, however, said the road, energy and sanitation levies may stand as is. The concern of some is that daily commuting is already difficult and a lack of free movement can contribute to low production outputs in the country, thus economic woes. There has been public outcry recently over economic hardship, whose arguments are premised on effects of COVID-19. As the government strives to ensure transparency and seamless request and granting of information, education and sensitization on the Right to Information Act, Act 989, has been taken to staff of the Ministry of Employment and Labour Relations in Accra. The move had the support of the European Union.
Two-day workshop, which was organized by the Ministry of Employment and Labour Relations in collaboration with the European Union technical assistant, aims at bringing management and staff of the ministry abreast with key provisions of the Act, Act 989, to ensure its successful operationalization and implementation. According to the Executive Secretary of Right Information Commission, Mr. Yao Sapon Boateng, one of the main goals of the RTI Act is to ensure transparency and accountability in the governance of the country. He elaborated on some requirements under the RTI law.
Every public institution, as a matter of law, must have an information published and kept in a form that is accessible by applicants for information. Such a manual must be reviewed and published every 12 months thereafter. The Commission shall issue guidelines for the publication of such manuals as required by law shortly. All public institutions are required under the law to submit annual reports on their activities under the Right to Information law to the Right to Information Commission 60 days after the 31st of December each year. Every public institution must have an information officer. The fees to be paid for information, according to the law, must be reasonable.
Mr. Sapon Boateng reiterated that the law is expected to make it easier for persons, institutions or organizations to request and receive information from public institutions in Ghana without any hindrance. This, according to him, will help reduce speculations in the public sector. According to the RTI officer for the ministry, Ms. Faustina Ayele Johnson, the sensitization workshop has put her in a better position to build the capacity of staff of the ministry. Officials of the RTI Commission took the staff through the procedures and processes that both the ministry and information seekers will have to go through during a transaction.
The Ministry of National Security says it is leaving no stone unturned to secure the country's borders in an era of changing security challenges. At a program organized for the Parliamentary Select Committee on Defense and Interior on the National Security Strategy document, the Sector Minister, Mr. Albert Kandapar, said emerging trends in security matters in the world requires a more strategic approach in tackling challenges in the sector. The National Insurance Commission has presented, I beg your pardon, the National Security has presented, I'll take a quick break, I'll reorganize and bring you the story again. Apologies. Now, the Ministry of National Security says it is leaving no stone unturned to secure the country's borders in an era of changing security challenges. At a program organized for the Parliamentary Select Committee on Defense and Interior on a National Security Strategy document, the Sector Minister, Mr. Albert Kandapar, said emerging trends in security matters in the world requires a more strategic approach in tackling challenges in the sector.
The National Security Strategy document, launched earlier this year, is to serve as a guide for the security agencies and their operations to better secure the country and guarantee the safety of citizens. The program, organized by the Ministry of National Security, was to school members of the Parliamentary Select Committee on Defense and Interior on the document and to enable them to scrutinize it.
There is no question about the fact that Ghana is amongst the first in our sub-region to have adopted or launched a strategy of this nature. I am very convinced that this document reflects the aspirations of all of us to have a working document, a framework within which our national security and matters related thereto can be effectively and efficiently dealt with.
The Minister for National Security, Mr. Kandapar, said the ministry is working to address security threats in the country.
And did we really believe some 5, 6, 7 years ago that terrorism could be as much a problem as it is today? We felt there was a possibility, but we also felt that it is not reasonable to expect that we will be caught in the middle of it all within so short a time. Today, all over the region, in West Africa, we are under serious attack. And those of us who have not been attacked should not deceive ourselves into thinking that we will not be attacked. There are serious security challenges in many other areas. It was as a result of the multiplicity of these challenges that we thought, why don't we sit down and come up with a national security strategy?
Participants were hopeful that the document will stand the test of time. A similar program had been organized for members of the Ghana Bar Association.
I hope this time we'll be able to defend it to the core to enable other colleagues appreciate it and then for it to be adopted. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
National Insurance Commission has presented a check for 250,000 Ghana cedis to the Ghana National Fire Service to enable it complete the construction of a 3-story forensic laboratory in Accra. The laboratory units, when completed, will be used for scientific methods to determine the origin and clear causes of fire incidents for public safety.
Service will use the forensic laboratory in their investigative processes to establish the causes of fires within a reasonably short period and also help insurers price fire risks prudently. In July 2021, the National Insurance Commission supported the Ghana National Fire Service (GNFS) with a check for 300,000 Ghana cedis. When the construction first started, an initial 500,000 cedis was presented. With a recent donation of 250,000 cedis, the total sum now stands at 1,050,000 Ghana cedis from the NIC to support the construction of the forensic laboratory. The Commissioner of Insurance, Dr. Justice Ofori, who made the presentation during a tour of the project, said fire insurance claims take a relatively long time to administer because fire insurers must be able to tell the root cause of a fire outbreak. The lab, he said, will make life easier and faster for all.
In fact, without the fire service, then I see an insurance industry cannot even embark on the compulsory fire insurance for commercial buildings. We believe that when all is done, this forensic laboratory will help us and help you in particular in doing your fire investigations and also help us get the fire reports expeditiously.
Both institutions believe that the mutually beneficial relationship between them will be further strengthened once the laboratory is completed and put to use. The acting chief fire officer, Mr. Julius Kuno, commended the insurance industry for contributing towards the funding of the project, which is the first of its kind since the service was established in 1963.
As a result of our transformational agenda, of which we want to ensure that our investigation is science-based, that will get exact causes of incidents, including fire outbreaks. With this laboratory, it will facilitate getting fire reports much faster and to the point, more appropriate. This is scientific based.
The GNFS says with the additional support, other important phases of the laboratory will be executed. With the forensic laboratory, causes of fire often classified as accidental will be properly identified.
You're watching News Hour live on GBC News. Time to take a quick break. We'll be back shortly. Please do stay.
Good morning!
Good morning!
It's a good morning and we serve you breakfast. Not just any breakfast. Sizzling healthy.
A la carte.
And there's much more on offer on GTV breakfast. So what's your pleasure? Sambotrasia at that time of the morning.
You want it a buffet style complimentary breakfast?
On-site restaurant
Or room service?
We've got you covered. From Monday to Friday at 6 a.m. with a trusted team. So never skip breakfast.
On GTV breakfast.
Ghana would play host to the 7th conference of the Organization of the African, Caribbean and Pacific States in charge of fisheries and aquaculture in April 2022. The meeting is to ensure that measures are put in place to ensure that a trade in fish and fish products which have been on the low side from member countries is boosted. An agreement to give Ghana the right to host the conference had been signed in Accra.
The percentage of fish traded globally by member countries of the Organization of the African, Caribbean and Pacific States (OACPS) account for less than 10% of the $154 billion global value of fish trade. Despite the low contribution to global trade, fisheries exports account for half of the value of commodity exports of most member countries and a major foreign exchange earner. However, the low contribution of the fisheries trade to the global market and negative effects of climate change on 60 out of the 79 member states will feature prominently when the 7th meeting of the OACPS countries on fisheries and aquaculture takes place in Accra from April 5 to 8, 2022. The Minister for Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration, Madam Sheila Yokobotri, pledged Ghana's preparedness to ensure a successful meeting come April next year.
Following right on the heels of COP26, this upcoming meeting on fisheries and aquaculture will continue the discussions on the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal 14, Life Below Water, and at the same time serve as a prelude to the critical issues to be identified and discussed at the United Nations Oceans Conference, which will be co-hosted by Kenya and Portugal, as well as the 7th Ocean Conference to be hosted by Palau later on in 2022.
The Minister for Fisheries and Aquaculture, Madam Kunsin, said Ghana stands to benefit tremendously from hosting the conference.
The hotels will also have people lodging in, and this will bring income to their country. Apart from that, the country will also stand to benefit from learning from other countries their way of doing their fishing activities in the other countries. So these are some of the benefits to Ghana.
The Assistant Secretary General of the OACPS, Ms. Crystal Pratt, said the meeting will provide a forum to deepen cooperation and identify areas for strategic engagement with partners in fisheries and aquaculture development.
The ocean drives climate and weather, but also how climate change is impacting our oceans, whether it be warming seas, bleaching coral reefs, and also the way in which fish move around and through the ocean.
This is the first time Ghana will be hosting the OACPS Fisheries and Aquaculture Conference, which started in 2009.
The Association of Ghana Industries, AGI, has called for the exemption of imports which competes with locally manufactured goods from enjoying the 50% benchmark value policy by the government. The AGI says this would cushion local producers from the unfair competition from importing countries. This submission was made by the Vice President in charge of SMEs at the Association of Ghana Industries, Mr. Kwesi Enim Dake, in Accra.
Instead of the universal application of the policy to all imports, the Association of Ghana Industries believes imports which come to compete with locally manufactured products be exempted from the policy. It is important for government to cushion local products for which there is local production capacity. Secondly, we urge government to maintain the benchmark policy for manufacturers for their raw material imports to help grow the real economy. We support economic cooperation and multilateral trade agreements. The reason why Ghana has signed a number of trade agreements. But we also note that signing the trade agreements such as AFTA and the Interim Economic Partnership Agreement alone will not guarantee
the gains we desire.
The executives of the Ghana Union of Traders Association, UTAC, have called on the Gamanche Kintaki Teiko to congratulate him on his assumption of the high office as president of the Ghana Traditional Council.
GUTA is an umbrella body that promotes the interest of traders in Ghana and also lobbies the government on issues affecting the 68 trade associations that form the union. The Gamanche Kentakite Kochuru was officially sworn into office as the president of the Ghana Traditional Council on the 4th of October 2021. The president of GUTA, Dr. Joseph Obeng, noted that the visit has become necessary given the place of Accra and, for that matter, the Ghana traditional area in retail business. He was of the view that traditional authorities are symbols of peace and stability.
We believe in a traditional setup. We know that even in modernity, there's still relevance in our traditional setup. It is because of this unique tradition that we have as a nation that have ensured the peace that Ghana have been priding ourselves with. Had it not been the strategy, that the fact that we listen to you, we wouldn't have been going around and touting the peace that we've been talking about. So we understand this.
The Gamanche Kintakite Kochuru pledged his support to resolving conflicts, maintain peace and order, and promote the development of the country.
Into what chaya and one ya gbene kamla lo ba pe ke han ni bi ni ba na ke ni bi gba wo na ke wo mo fe ko me ke wo ke han balwe.
Time now for the interbank markets and the commodities board.
It is a nightmare dealing